Hey, you wanna get high, man?
That stimulates your mind.
Get up, Chucky! What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
Rojan Kim.
Hello, and welcome to the Rojan Kim cast. It's me, Rojan Kim. Thank you so much for joining me this Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday on my end. I don't know when I'll put this out. I'll probably put this out sooner. The ones with the interviews take longer. It's a whole technical thing. It's only me. There's no team. I wish I had a team of interns and all that stuff, but I don't. So it's just me and so anyways, it's been a while since I did a solo cast. I got some recent upgrades. So I got this neat Chinese webcam here, and I'm doing more video casts so you can see my dumb face. Some people like to see the dumb face. It's easier to cancel me when you see my dumb face because I'll be saying dumb things. You see my face saying them, and then you're like, that guy sucks. And so I'm just making it easier for my enemies, whoever they are. I seem to be uniting people in their hatred of me. So I think that's, hey, here's the thing. My posture usually is of a jester and of a messenger. People, both occupations where you get your head cut off or killed if people don't like what you say. All right. That's part of my, that's part of my occupational hazard. I shouldn't be touching myself because I also now don't have I still have the handheld mics, but I've moved on to this lav. It's a Chinese lav, probably won't work for long. I might need to update it or use the Chinese webcam as the mic or the Chinese headset. But that headset wasn't as good and the Chinese laptop isn't as good. I've gone Chinese. It's cheaper. It's better than, you know what, Apple, they just lost me. They lost me over and over, and I've gone over. I've capitulated. I've got over to the other side, guys. I say I'm all for the People's Republic of China. I think that their lines are very clear, and I appreciate that. And you know what? I'm happy to spread any CCP propaganda that needs to be spread, given what's going on with, our own police state. I mean, come on. Like, who are we to judge? That's, hire me. I am willing to take CCP money. I'm putting that out there right now. I'm willing to take Chinese communist money to spread the word of Tian Sha. Look, here's a sample. Look, the Chinese didn't colonize the world. They didn't do anything. You know what their system of foreign diplomacy was? It was a tributary system. So yes, on one level, they did ask that you kowtow to them, and you had to do it, bow 9 times, whatever. But in exchange, they give you silk, they give you tea, they gave you silver, they gave you gold, they gave you stuff. What do they want in return? You just have to say that they were awesome, and they wanted like a giraffe or some shit, depending on where they went. You know what? They just wanted stuff, to exchange. And that's all they're doing now. See, that's all they're doing now with their one road, and they're building all this stuff in Africa. People are saying that, they've got nefarious ends economically, like they're trying to take over those areas by providing the infrastructure and then putting everybody in debt. What, like the IMF does? Who are we to see? You want more China. It's going to cost you one whole Bitcoin. I want one whole Bitcoin sent to this address: 14H35893994 H4GH. There's only G's and H's in the whole thing. I customized the hash, crypto hash myself. I don't know what I'm saying. Oh, it's good times. I'm glad to just be talking to you by myself because, I got all these guests. I went out of control. I booked a lot of guests. I wanted to catch up with people in the quarantine, and now it's a curfew. So it's a Quarfew. I call it the Quarfew. We're in the Quarfew now, and sure, it's great to catch up. Don't mind it. But I don't know. Sometimes I don't want to be rude, and I just don't want to say to them that, like, it's not, this whole podcast isn't really about you. It's actually about me. This is actually about my mental illness. Okay. And I'm a good listener. Sure. And I'm sorry. I'm sure none of my guests are listening. Okay. Here we go. You get to see me make that face. That's one of the great things about the video aspect. You get to see all the faces that I make, which you will indeed see that I am crazy. A this is not. I think you can probably imagine the facial expressions of a reasonable person. An Asian guy, you've never seen anything like this, and then when you see it on camera, you're just like, oh, okay, they do not all look alike. That's just woo. I don't know what to do with these jokes anymore. There's nowhere we can't do anything. Quarfew. All right. It's a great time for billionaires, though, don't you think? I think, if you believe in all the conspiracy theories, I feel like this is wonderful. All your narratives are just blending together and coming true. It's wonderful, right? Like Bill Gates. You think there's a billionaires club? Like Billionaire Boys Club, not the one with Pharrell or whoever. I don't know anything about what the kids. This is probably 10 years old. This is a 10-year-old reference, isn't it? Anyways, back to Bill Gates. Sitting in the club of billionaires. You think he's like, hey, check it out. I staged a pandemic. Follow that. And then George Soros is like, hold my beer. Like he's just fucking, I got all of it in place. I activate Antifa. Activate it. I don't know. There's all this weird like news. See, the whole thing about this whole thing with first the pandemic. Okay. I mean, honestly, you can just see a line. I say it's a line going all the way back to fucking WMDs, Gulf of Tonkin. You know what I mean? You could take it back to the Maine. You keep taking it. I mean, when just America, I'm sure fabrications, manufacturing consent, all that stuff. It's been around. Okay. Then use colluding with the state in order to advance the the propaganda of the state. The news just acting as the propaganda arm of the state. And it doesn't matter what side, who's in charge of the state, if it's Fox or MSNBC, it's all kind of similar. You know what I mean? It's all just the mechanisms are there. It's just different players. And I think read manufacturing consent. It's not I'm not a crazy man. I mean, not about this. This is something some other guy who's way smarter than I, came up with linguistic theory, Chomsky. So I'm not gonna, whatever, man. Read it. He's talking about how, like, back in the day, World War I, made newsreel footage of Belgian babies being nailed to church doors by Germans. I mean, it's all made up. It's fabricated. It was just but back then people didn't understand cinema and editing and all that stuff, so they fell for it. And they got we got to send our boys over to fight this war. Before that, America was totally isolationist. Anyway, not to say America is like not guilty of anything before that, because of course you got your centuries of white supremacy, right? I mean, this whole thing is crazy because you could see that there's a line stretching from the police, the militarizing of the police, to the world empire, to white supremacy, to the colonial start to this country. 13 colonies, right? 13 colonies. I guess it wasn't bad luck, but colonies mean colonialism, right? And colonialism is essentially rapacious extraction. I mean, what, you think it was like nice? You think this shit was nice? It was all right. It wasn't a big deal. Those guys all, could have been nicer. Could have been nicer than today. Some people say. Are you kidding? That's why, honestly, I just take the time machine. I say take the time machine test, right? If you yourself went into a time machine, how far back could you go and be okay? I remember I worked in a room full of white dudes, and I asked them, hey, would you rather be rich in 1900 or as you are now? And they all said rich in 1900. They are like, oh, rich in 1900. And I was like, really? Like, you would want to live in a time where, okay, first of all, there's no sanitation. But also, it's just like there's no such thing as racism either. It's just where the white man rules. They were fine. They're like, yeah, they're fine. Because that's not. It's the perception. The perception of what history is has been manufactured, right? Just like our consent, just like the content that we see on the streets. A lot of it could be manufactured. I mean, that is a lot of, we're verging now into ultimate conspiracy territory, because you take that farther and then it's like NASA isn't real, space isn't real, all of that, Earth is flat. You can see where that the reasoning, you know what I'm saying? That's the slippery slope of that reasoning. Here's the thing. So you could say it, you could say that we've been lied to, because even just look at marijuana. Marijuana is not a big deal, whatever. But here, to me, the big deal about marijuana is that it's the lie that they told to people openly, right? They told us that it's fucking bad for you. They told us like this and that'll happen. And now look, it's fucking fine. Now it's a business. Now it's a business. A bunch of people are getting rich off of it. A bunch of white people and Koreans too. Koreans, I'm not gonna, you know what I'm saying? And some Mike Tyson, not it's, but overwhelmingly, let's all admit that the people who got fucked during the drug war were black and brown people. I mean, that's just a fact, right? How are we going to rectify that? I don't know. I feel like this is all part of that. Like, not literally, though. Some of you are like, no, this is about George Floyd and one man who died. And not just one man, Breonna Taylor is another one. What about Philando Castro? What about Eric Garner? I mean, I could just keep, it's a list of names. Like, I was alive during the protests, the Rodney King uprising, right? Riots, whatever you want to call it. 3 days burning, rooftop Koreans, the whole 9 yards, the backdrop to OJ, all that stuff. Like, I was there. I remember the sentiment. It is different. It's not the same. But I was out there in the protest on Saturday. It was at Pan Pacific Park. There was a protest, a Black Lives Matter gathering, and then a march down to Fairfax. So Pan Pacific Park is on Beverly. Beverly Boulevard runs east-west, so it went west down to Fairfax. Part of the group split, went through the park down to 3rd, which is south and parallel to Beverly, and went all the way down to La Cienega, then got pushed back by the cops, pushed up to Fairfax. And so by the time I was there, I'd gone to the gathering, came back, I was with Ramey, we went back, we're at the march, got to the skirmish line. There was a skirmish line at 3rd, went up to Fairfax, and then I saw the darndest thing. And I might, you might hear me say this over and over, but it was the weirdest thing, man. I watched 4 cops guarding one cop car, and then must have all gotten an order or something, because all 4 of them in unison moved over to another cop car where there were other cops. So it's not like that cop car needed to be guarded. They abandoned this one cop car, moved over there. While it was getting heated, everybody's getting pushed there. Things were getting heated. People were yelling at the cops. We were, and that's when my spider sense went off. And that's when I was like, you know what, we should split. So we turned the corner. As soon as we turned the corner, you can just hear the fucking smoke, or not hear, you can see the smoke, black smoke, boom, rising. And so I go home. I get home. I'm not too far away. I'm actually a couple blocks away. I live a couple blocks away. I go home, turn on the live stream, and I see that someone set a cop car on fire on Fairfax and Beverly, and that it was the same cop car that the cops moved from. It doesn't mean anything. What does it mean? I don't know. Suspicious? Yes. I mean, did they set it on fire? Possibly. I don't know. That's why when, all this stuff about like people came from out of town, or there's like Nazis dressing up as Antifa, or Antifa dressing up as, I don't know. For all intents and purposes, it looked like a bunch of protesters. People had been pent up. People, from the quarantine, the people who were genuinely angry. But I would have to say it's the cops that really, once the cops showed up, that's when it got violent. And it seems to be the pattern all over the country. If you look, there's footage everywhere of the cops inciting violence, right? So I wouldn't put it past the cops then to have agent provocateurs, you know what I'm saying? Going around, starting looting, starting burning. I'm not saying that there aren't looters, because obviously there are, but it's just all about, it's the whole mentality of the crowd, right? Crowds, that's what I'm learning. Crowds operate on leadership, at least from this book, right? Which is an observation made before the 20th century. And I think it's an observation that's even truer now and even more manipulated. Hence manufacturing consent, right? Hence now the media. Hence why I fucking hate the media. What I go on and on, my railing about the media, all that stuff. It's because they're supposed to be leaders. Where's Obama? Obama's gonna, I guess, do some nice speech or something, but where's he been this whole time? I don't know. Who we got? Biden. Anyways, Bill Gates versus George Soros. Maybe it's just a big chess battle. Maybe we're just playthings to these guys. Race, gender, all that stuff. It's just a distraction from class, right? Look at what, I feel like the rioting was an orgiastic release, right? Just people were pent up, people were angry. You cock block spring. You can't just cock block spring on people and expect nothing to happen, Arab Spring happens. The things happen in spring. If you don't make it happen, something's going to get forced, right? And something got forced, and I think that's why cities burned. There was anger, and the anger got lit up, and that lighting was also, I think, inflamed by the media, the president, the cops, basically everybody who's supposed to be our leaders, everybody who we're supposed to listen to and respect, and the money we pay in taxes goes to paying a lot of the people who are in charge of us. Of course, the media is all commercial, so it's our clicks and our ad money and stuff like that. But it's all based on the consumer, us, right? And we're the ones who they continually lie to and fuck, and we just kind of squabble, more and more squabbling. It's very interesting. Everything just gets splitting up by racial lines and things like that, and less and less talk of economic stuff. I mean, isn't it interesting? I think it's very interesting and very telling that Martin Luther King was assassinated when he started talking about economics. He started talking about the war state connecting the inner cities with the colonial adventures overseas, or the Cold War shit that, Korea and Vietnam, essentially wars in Asia back then, how that's connected, how the struggle is connected, because, I like to harp on the fact that the first desegregated infantry was used in the Korean War, right? How white supremacy, which let's call it colonialism, and let's call it our foreign policy, let's call it imperialism, whatever it is, this exercise of power has been with us for a very long time, and has been weaponized, using people against each other. I'm not like anti-white, anti-black. That's the whole thing. It's like I don't really truck with the whole racial identity thing in the first place. But I do understand how it's wielded as a weapon, right? I understand how it's used. I understand how you can't ignore it, and how it's used on crowds, leaders, crowds. So these agent provocateurs breaking windows, doing that stuff, that's just somebody taking a leadership position and inciting the illogical sort of like, and especially after being indoors for like 3 months, pent up energies and rage of the crowd, and you can see that it's dying down. It's actually dying down. There's like a refractory period going on, people are chilling out. So I don't know. I guess, is that unfair of me? I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like people did this whole thing where they posted these black squares, and I just don't like social media activism. I don't like the bandwagoning. I don't like the shaming of others into doing it. I don't believe in it. It always gets hijacked. It's always some kind of co-opted thing. It's always just marketing. It's marketing. That's all it is. Hashtag marketing. Anyways, so people posted the black square, and then it turned out that people were using the Black Lives Matter hashtag, and so the whole feed was getting clogged up by these black squares. So then people were saying, no, it's actually a disinformation campaign to stop Black Lives Matter information from getting out. So just stop using that hashtag, use this other hashtag, Blackout Tuesday. And then so everybody started doing that, and then it turned out Blackout Tuesday was started by these record companies, or I don't know the details. It's just it's some company. There's always some companies, some people, some influencers. You know what I mean? There's always just if you want to go out there, go out there. I understand. Some people feel like, I can't go out there because they're still dealing with the coronavirus thing. But I just don't. I just feel like it's all falling apart, right? Not to say that it was never real. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the news's authority, the credibility is kind of falling apart. I went out there. I was not afraid of getting sick. I wore masks, sure, for everybody else and myself. But overall, at this point, I feel like we don't know the extent of how much it's actually run through the population. What we're starting to see is a picture of the fact that it's not the same. There was potential for it to be bad, but we averted that danger, and now we are sort of sheltering in place for reasons other than the original intent, and it seems like an exercise of state power continuing over and over. I mean, honestly, look at George Floyd was killed over a forged $20 check or a bill, $20. Okay? That none of this. Imagine if fucking government gave corporations $1,200 and unleashed trillions on the people. Yeah, you might have been prevented. Who knows? Who knows? I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying that would get rid of white supremacy or cops or any of it, or just bad training, militarized police, any of it. That I wouldn't say. I'm not saying that, but just it's clear where the priorities lie. But it's also clear that the divisions are too strong for people to unite. So I foresee it just becoming just like it happened under Obama. It'll become phased out of the news cycle, and then something else will get politicized, and and so on and so forth, and on it goes. Well, we'll see. Maybe not. We'll see. Maybe we have no idea. But I guess I'm supposed to have a guest. I thought I could maybe do this and have him pop on, but he's not quite here yet. But so I'm gonna maybe sign off. Is that great catching up? Everything sucks. Here's the thing. I think if anything, I have a lot of hope. Anytime shit like this happens, I have hope, because that means change. There may be some change coming, and change is violent. Changes could be violent. Change is disruptive. Change is not easy. It's messy, but that means through the mess, new things can come. Maybe growth, maybe better things. We don't know. Possibilities, more possibilities. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a good thing. Also, it's all about the small circle. What's your circle? Do you have love in your life? Are you doing okay? Are you all by yourself? Break quarantine if you are. You know what I mean? Go to the protest. Meet somebody. It might not be the healthiest thing. I'm not advocating. I'm not saying that the virus is a hoax, and I'm not saying white supremacy is a hoax. Okay? Nothing is a hoax. Everything is a hoax. It doesn't matter. All I'm saying is what's not being addressed is actual health. What's not being addressed is actual economics. What's not being addressed is the actual thing, the underlying problem, just symptoms of that problem, you see, and the divisions you can cause using those symptoms. Race definitely being one of them. Gender is another one, I think. Last thing they want is men and women uniting. You know what I mean? That would freak them out, because that's tons of people. That's what they don't want. That's what they don't want. Okay, I need to. And then just a blood splat splats right behind me. That's what would be great. See, and that's why you should watch the video, because you would have been able to see that visual. I've got a lot of cool guests coming up, so I'm excited about that. I am thankful. I do have a nice bump in numbers, so thank you guys. Thank you. Smash that like button if you're down with the movement. Or subscribe, subscribe, please. Don't forget to follow me on the YouTube here on the Rojan Kimcast. You can find me on the Rojan Kimcast YouTube, the Rojan Kimcast. You can find me, the Rojan Kimcast, on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, all those platforms. I should just say all platforms. Should I just say all platforms? But it's not true. It's not on all platforms. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's not like everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and until next time.